Okay, now as we start to construct our jacket, one of the things that we have to become very focused on is our posture. Why is that important? Well, do you remember the thimble that we practiced and we mastered? Why did we do that? Why didn't we just, use whatever movement? It was a very specific movement that we practiced. Well, we did that to make sure that we're comfortable when we're sewing. And we're also accurate with what we're sewing, and we can speed up. The same thing goes for posture. If you adopt a good posture, you're going to be comfortable. And when you're comfortable, you can focus on the work, on your speed, you can focus on your accuracy, and you're going to enjoy tailoring a lot more as well. Because don't forget, if you are trying to become a professional tailor, you have to do long hours. You're going to be sewing for like 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, sometimes 18 hours a day. And you can't do that if you have the wrong posture, because you're going to be tired. And I'm not talking about the end of the day. I'm talking about before lunch. You're dead. Now, what's the right posture? What's the wrong posture? Let's start with that. Imagine I have a board here in front of me and I'm standing up and I'm working, on something. As I'm focused on what I'm working on, I forget about my posture. And, I'm really trying to make this the best thing ever. And at some point, there is this pain that creeps up my back and goes over my shoulders and then goes into my neck and then it goes into my head and then it goes into my eyes and then I mess up something here and bam. You find you catch yourself sewing like this and you're like, what's going on? This is not, this is, this is like, beep. Anyway, that's more or less the scenario. However, the right posture would be that when you're working on, first of all, you've practiced the right posture, not just, I know what the right posture is. No, I know. Don't do it like that. Really focus on and master it. So, what's the right posture? First of all, you have to make sure that the board you're working on is not lower than your belly button. Because if it is lower than your belly button, well, you have to hunch forward, and when you hunch forward, again, you put strain on your back, and then it goes into your shoulders, neck, head, eyes. So what do? Well, when you lift up your arms, don't lift up your shoulders. Lift up your elbows. When you do that, you're bringing your hands higher, and whatever you have in front of you, and if it's a sleeve board on your board or a ham, you'll be able to work on it without putting tension on your shoulders. Because if you just try to sew like this and your elbows are low, you have to lift up your shoulders. But when you bring your elbows up, your shoulders can just stay down. And when they stay down, they're more likely to relax. So what's the exercise? The exercise is that every day, do this for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, as long as it takes to master it. Every day before you start sewing, or even if you're not sewing, just do it every day. Take 2 minutes of your time, put a sleeve board or a ham, something that's slightly higher than your board, in front of you. Lift up your elbows and just put the needle through the fabric or a piece of fabric that you have and just sew. And as you're sewing, think about your shoulders, think about your elbows, and be conscious of the movements that you're making. 2 minutes away, let go, relax, and then repeat as many times as you want. The main thing is that every time you lift up your arms, you now automatically are lifting up your elbows and then working, because that is going to allow your body to relax and just focus on that. If there is going to be any pressure or tension, it's just going to be on your arms. And trust me, you want probably more tension on your arms than tension on your shoulders, because that's going to affect this entire area. You don't want headache at the end of the day. So that's for standing up. Now, when you're sitting down and you're working, it's more or less the same. But there are a couple of other things that you have to keep in mind. First of all, when we are sewing, on our legs, we use our legs as our board. And if we just sit like this, it's very difficult. Let me just move sideways. If we are sitting like this, it's very difficult because this is quite low. So we have to be working like this, and we don't want to be working like this. So what do? 3 things we have to keep in mind. First of all, keep your back straight at all times. Remember the thimble that felt so awkward to perform and now you're used to it? Same thing for your back. When you keep your back straight and you're not used to this posture, you're going to feel your back. You're going to feel that it hurts sometimes. Keep going. I mean, you're probably not training your muscles enough so that they can actually hold you up. Or, you're like, on the tube or behind your computer. You're used to a bad posture in general. So make sure you keep your back straight. The next thing is that look in front of you as if you're looking into the horizon and then slightly tilt your head downwards. Don't ever, ever bring your chin too far down like so. If you do that, you're going to put, again, a lot of pressure on your neck and then it goes into your head and then you go crazy. The third thing is that, well, you have to raise your legs. So you can either, cross your legs like that, or if you can't cross your legs for whatever reason, put something underneath your foot so that you can raise your legs, put the work on top and then work. When you do that and you put the work on your legs, make sure that it always remains in the knee area. Why is that? Well, when we keep our back straight and we slightly tilt our head down and we look at our knee, you'll notice this invisible triangle that goes from my eyes to my knees to my body again and then into my eyes. There's this triangle. Now that's the ideal distance that we want to have from our work. And if this gets any closer to us like that, two things happen. We either, move our chin down and then we're like sewing like this, or we just, hunch forward and bend down and just start to sew like that. Not ideal. So straight back, slightly tilted downwards with your head. Make sure it always stays in the knee area, whatever you're working on. Another thing that I should tell you is that when you are cutting your thread, don't cut your thread too long. I mean, literally, it shouldn't be longer than the tip of your finger all the way up to your shoulder. That's the length. Don't pull, don't have your basting cotton there and then pull all the way. You're not trying to sew, with one thread the entire jacket. So the longer the thread, the higher you have to raise your arms just to get the thread going and regulate the tension. And that's going to slow you down and make you tired. Having said that, one other thing about posture that I would like to mention is that when you're in a workshop, you want to be leading by example. And you also want to become someone who people look up to and aspire to. And, people copy each other. So if you want to set a good example, make sure you're projecting something that people want to copy. Now, I'm not going to say fake it until you make it and that kind of nonsense, because you have to know what you're doing. But what I'm trying to say is that when you do know what you're doing, make sure you look like you know what you're doing. And what I mean by that is when you adapt the right posture, you are not only in control of what you're doing, but you actually look like you're in control. So just compare these two postures together. You tell me. Let's move on.